Hey everyone, Suri here, and welcome back to another week of Light Season Offense matches. I went back to Gullveig for this week. While it has been fun to dip into tanking again, Rearmed Plumeria's bonus week was too good an opportunity to pass up for enabling Gullveig's particular blend of Gale Force with hit and run. Gullveig has really impressed me out of this year's CYL units. Being a flying mage with a limited version of Raging Storm gives her plenty of ways to approach any situation, and getting to use a damaging special lets her punch through any particularly sturdy roadblocks. Third Sparrow is an extremely useful tool in her kit too. Limiting the movement of enemy ranged units lets her maintain control over the battlefield across multiple turns, and the extra true damage is a great bonus. Yuri is back as her partner in crime. He works really well in either his base or legendary variants thanks to his cavalry movement range, 2-space Kanto, and, with some HP stacking, the ability to defuse any trap. Foul play is the key that ties it all together, allowing him to plant Gullveig, or other teammates, into the ideal position for the current situation. The dancers are where the team got a bit ridiculous this week. Rearmed Plumeria finally gave me a good way to start duplicating guidance skills, and having two dancers with both soaring guidance and a Kanto-enabled dance turns every map into a mobility playground. Both dances offer excellent support options too. Neutralizing penalties, or doubling down on the opponent's penalties, can mean the difference between a knockout and a surviving tank, and Charge helps Gullveig to ignore the usual drawbacks of her extraction. Ash and Miller are quieter supports for the team, but they still do a lot of work. Ash gives the squad a third guidance beacon to work around, while Milla's isolation can really help to lock down a battlefield. Now that we've gone over the team, let's get to the first match. This match was a fun one to see early in the week. It's a pretty straightforward cav line at first glance, using the duo Dogger to help Veronica, Lise, and Lynn threaten most of the map. The maxed out Seliph on the other side is a dangerous part of the team too. Being a melee option with high mobility and Miracle can be a major problem for teams that mostly focus on countering their ranged attackers. Lynn does the sneaky part about this though. Her weapon lets herself and nearby allies ignore terrain effects at slow movement, including the fires planted by Flared Sparrow, which makes it a lot harder to use it to slow down the stampede. Together with Elise's odd recovery and Note's Kanto control, the team can be difficult to hit and run against, which isn't really going to stop us here, even if it did force me to get creative with the approach. Moving Gullveig in first while preserving her Kanto for later lets Plumeria jump past her for a dance, and then lets Yuri leapfrog forward, defuse the Hex Trap, and attack into Lind. Taking Lind out means we won't have to worry about her helping the team to ignore these fires, and then we can step back, take out Seliph,
once more!
and Kanto into a safe corner of the map. The rest of the team isn't going to be able to help us take another unit out this turn, so they're just working on clearing out these structures in the front and preparing to go in on the following turn.
Like this.
The safety fence locks them out here. And this turn ended up being a little bit trickier to plan out than I expected. While I can just reposition Peony forwards here, which lets Yuri warp past and foul play Gullveig to the other side, we can't actually end up knocking out two units safely this time around. Dogger ends up going down here, but Note does have a rally up attack, and if we try to retreat too far, she's going to rally forward and let Elise cross this fire tile without using a movement point, which could let her catch somebody that I don't want her reaching this turn, especially since Veronica would be able to reach us at the same time too. So instead, we plant Gullveig here, in range of Veronica without being in range of Elise. Gullveig is also threatening the tile right below Elise, which means that Note should never move forward to rally, she'll always stay put. And while it does mean Gullveig has to tank Veronica this turn, the triangle advantage and exceptionally high speed means that she can manage this without getting knocked out. We're out of range of the other two, So from here it's not so hard to finish things off.
Give me an order.
Yuri doesn't end up foul playing here, just opening up the healing tower means that we can move Gullveig forward and take out Elise, which also removes the highest threat range they have left on the map. Her second action lets her take out Embla, and from there we can just work our way forward to pick up one of these Aether pots. I do need to be a little bit careful. This note does also have Odd Tempest, and we don't want her to catch the 24 hit point Gullveig off guard. So we stay far enough away to be safe this turn. Let Yuri pick up our last Aether pot, and then move Peony out of the way so that Gullveig can close out the match. This match was a bit more of a standard Catria formation with some seasonal legendaries to round out the team. It relies pretty heavily on Robin surviving ranged attackers, but the hardy Aegis Deflect combo does make her pretty durable. Catria's Guidance 4 is the most likely part of the team to catch people off guard. It gives Lyn a much longer reach than it might seem at first, and Lyn is also the only one on the team without an assist, which means she can warp forward, get danced, and threaten most of the map from there. We're not really planning to let that happen at all, though. And while the Hardy Aegis combo is pretty good against mages, it does rely on getting the Aegis online in the first place. And if we don't let that happen, we don't have to worry about her potentially surviving an attack. Repositioning Yuri forwards here also lets us test 3 traps before we do anything else, and find both of the real ones along the way. Gullveig one-shots Robin before any of her damage reduction kicks in, and then we can use her second action to take out Catria, and start locking down the map. Cantoing back here means that we can have Peony dance Ashe, and let Ashe be the one to pull Gullveig all the way out of the danger zone, which gives us some more options for moving in on the following turn. I end up just smiting Gullveig forward, which lets her attack without having to worry about dancing or foul playing forwards instead. And taking out Ninian means that they don't have anybody who's able to dance in the coming turn, since Triandra is isolated. Cantoing back lets us dance for another knockout, as we move in and take out the isolated Triandra. It's a safer target than trying to go after either Lyn or Veronica here, and we do have one more dance to move over and knock out Embla. We are still in range of Veronica here, but since we didn't use Yuri to get into the fight this turn, we can just foul play Gullveig back and Canto out of the way. The fire keeps us safe, and this turn just becomes about getting to these Aether pots before we close out the match. The tactic room does make it a little bit trickier to get in there, but thanks to some guidance shenanigans we can move Yuri forward, pick up both pots, and then have Gullveig move in to finish off Veronica, and close out the match with Lyn.
Once more, once more!
This match was another cavalry formation featuring Lind. It was a bit of a surprise to see her again this week, but I do think she's one of the better answers to Flared Sparrow approaches. They're also using a Tea Time Sigurd to help enable the team. He works really well in a setup like this by extending his allies' movement, and has a pretty safe attack as well thanks to sweeping most weapon types. The Dio Sigurd helps them catch up to anyone trying to stay out of range, and this catapult in the leftmost column ends up being a particularly annoying part of the setup by aiming at my safety fence. I wasn't sure I'd be able to pull this off without the safety fence at first, but after a little bit of planning, I did figure out a way to approach this.
Give me an order.
I don't actually end up foul playing forward with Yuri. Instead, we test one of the traps, and then canto forward to test a second one,
Sure.
before dancing him and foul playing Gullveig forward after that. Testing those 3 traps gives Gullveig a lot more room to work with, and means we can go in and start by sniping Dogger. Before stepping back, taking out Sigurd, and cantoing over to test the last trap. Peony's spot lets Plumeria jump in and dance Gullveig one more time, before we move over and take out Lind, securing this corner of the map as a safe spot to stand.
Once more, once more.
Thanks to Milla's isolation, I don't need to worry about Sigurd helping them to catch us this turn.
Lord Asker, guide us.
And by leaving Ash in the bottom left, I'm hoping to bait Veronica down instead of over to the right. Thankfully that works, and makes it a little bit easier for us to navigate this coming turn.
I'll handle this.
Still takes a little bit of shenanigans though. Yuri opening up the structure means that Gullveig can warp into that spot and attack Embla from there, which is pretty important. The way I'd like to approach this is by locking one of these ranged units into their spot without letting them access the rest of the map.
Maybe this way.
And, with a dance, Peony can canto over, and plant herself on one side of Veronica, before Gullveig takes down Brownland. That spot lets Plumeria dance Gullveig one more time, letting her use Soaring Guidance to lock Veronica in position, and finish off Sigurd. And from there the map is pretty much ours. Veronica can't go anywhere, so it makes it very easy for us to navigate the rest of this map and clean up the Aether pots.
Give me an order.
Yuri moves in, we can dance him,
Ready.
grab the first Aether pot,
Sure.
let Plumeria grab the second,
Yes.
and have Gullveig close out the match.
There's not. Once more, once more.
This match was a fun way to close out the week. It's back to a Catria formation, this time featuring some exceptionally invested units. The maxed out era is really impressive and can be a much harder frontliner to deal with than people might be prepared for. The maxed out Brave Edelgard is a good way to keep their squad safe from ranged attackers, and the maxed out Brave Marianne is not a unit you want to try tanking, especially with triangle attacks enabled. Parking Triandra next to Edelgard also gives most of the team penalty doubler every turn as long as she isn't being isolated, which combos neatly with Unate tip stat checks even further in their favor. It's a pretty solid setup overall, and isn't something that I would try to tank as my first option. Thankfully, Gullveig isn't planning to tank this.
As always.
We move her forward without using Kanto again. Keeping it online will give her a much easier time getting back out after we're done. And Milla and Ash can move in to open up these structures on the right side.
Sure.
Ash's position lets Yuri work forward and foul play Gullveig onto the first trap,
Not.
and the extra damage she's getting from Ash and Peony and Milla are enough to let Gullveig punch through the 88% damage reduction Edelgard got on that second hit and finish her off. From there we can clean up the Catria and have Gullveig canto down to safety. The fire is stopping Marianne from reaching us, so we don't have to worry about anything on this first turn. From here, I'd rather not retreat too far out. It would make it a little trickier to reach this second Aether pod on the right. So instead, we open up that last structure and smite Gullveig forward to test the heavy trap, before moving on to take down Embla. I don't actually canto anywhere. This is a good spot for Plumeria to dance her. And from there, we're going to foul play Peony forwards, and make sure that she's able to dance Gullveig after she takes out Marianne. Moving Peony this far forward also means that she can move further north to dance Gullveig, and block off one side of Triandra, while Gullveig blocks the other and unite at the same time, while also taking down Aera. And with both ranged units boxed in, there's not much they can do this turn. So from here, Yuri can just warp over, pick up our first Aether pot, get danced, and pick up our second, and then we can let Gullveig take out Triandra.
Once more.
Before using her second action to close out the week.
It matters not.
This week was a lot of fun. It's always neat to figure out the right approach for Gullveig, and it's really satisfying to stick the landing. While she'll probably be season hopping for at least a few more weeks, I think I'll probably end up keeping her to light weeks in the long run. The combination of Ash and Soaring Guidance Peony really helps her to navigate the map. I do have a Discord channel if you'd like to hang out and chat. There's a link in the description, and I've also got a Patreon link there if you'd like to help support the channel. As always, I hope you've enjoyed the video, good luck with your own matches, and I'll see you next time.